Le programme commencera bientôt. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vote Larson. Hunters are finding boxes of ticks in the forests of the USA. They're literally finding these boxes just with hundreds of ticks crawling out of them. It looks like the false meat campaign is moving ahead smoothly. You know, it's unfortunate because you talk about it with people that, like, casually. You know, you bring it up to the guy who's serving you coffee and he goes, well, you know, how could they even do that? So many people would be involved. How could they hide it? It's there's scientists, there's the people that have to, you know, that drop the boxes. Like, how do you even arrange all of that? That's like the dumb people kind of way of rationalizing it, but whatever, you know, we're going to be all eating 3D printed meat here in 5 years? Let's call it 5 years. I'm going to call it 5 years. Israelis also, Israeli soldiers specifically, are desecrating Christian statues in Dibba. Those Ganefs, 2 soldiers already, they smashed in the face of the Christ statue with a sledgehammer. Now they got some chutzpah in that country. Personally, I think we owe Israel bupkis. Now you have another guy who's putting a joint up to the lips of Mary. Like, what are we doing? COVID season 2 is going to drop soon worldwide. No Netflix subscription needed, folks. Life, all we hold sacred and precious to us is fleeting. Hold your loved ones close because we don't know what tomorrow holds. That's truly the best advice that I have for you here. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not looking good on any front right now. I'm sorry to take this, mood with you on a Thursday afternoon, but whatever. World War III front, it's not looking great. A pandemic front, it's not looking great. The economic front, not looking great. I'm starting to think walking everywhere is a viable alternative to gas prices. My childhood cat did that for like 15 years outside. All it did was make her a soldier, make her tough. That's what I mean, guys. The human spirit is gonna be a full frontal display these next few years. The spirit of life, really. It's telling me that maybe I should become spiritually calico, just like her, and walk 11 miles a day. Folks, that's what it's gonna look like, and you're going to be keeping your family close to you. You're going to be trying to keep them alive these next few years, scavenging, raiding abandoned ERs, clinics, pharmaceuticals, walking with your family daily, like 10 to 15 miles a day. Every time you guys see the lights down the road coming near you, you all huddle into the brush so the bands of bandits or cannibals don't find you. Cormac McCarthy's The Road, if you're unfamiliar, is the blueprint for this kind of next phase of humanity. And I along with you, cannot wait. Let's review the first steps. That's going to get us here. Let's be honest with you. This virus with the 40% mortality rate, COVID was pussy rates. 1%, who cares? Genuinely. Now 40%? That's a bit of a different story. That's bubonic plague being treated with like modern medicine levels. That's above that, which is average about like 5 to 15% these days. And who's responsible for this? Well, I'm nervous about how Israel's out there doing their best to burn down Patagonia right now, the place where the virus allegedly was arisen from. Folks, we will talk all about Jews and nothing else on this program. 25 hours a day. Jew. Argentina, the ship might as well have been from Tel Aviv. Oy vey, be a mensch and hear me out, folks. People say Among Us was all about teaching us teamwork and distrust. All it taught me was how to judge people by color. But folks, let's jump into the first phase of establishing the New World Order. What will that be? Deploying the new virus. Last time they deployed it, it didn't have that near, listen, bandwidth with 1G wasn't great, but guess what? 2G had a little bit more capabilities. Am I saying that Hantavirus, the 2G variant, is going to be the one that wipes us all out? Probably not, but then 3G will come out. Who knows what 3G will even be? They could finally perfect the Ebola thing that they've been experimenting with for years. I'm not manifesting that. I don't claim that energy. Folks, let's just get into the Hantavirus. Go. The reason I want to talk about the Hantavirus to start off the show this morning is because health officials in Arizona and Georgia are now on high alert this morning. They're monitoring residents that recently returned home from the MV Hondius, the Dutch cruise ship currently at the center of the deadly Hantavirus outbreak in the Atlantic. So we let these people off for some odd fucking reason. The Georgia Department of Public Health has confirmed that they are now tracking 2 residents, while Arizona officials are monitoring at least 1 individual. Folks, they already got off the boat. I'm just going to be honest with you. We, for the sake of this satirical show, remember, for the sake of all that is good, we have to find these people. We have to throw them back into the sea. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm being fun. When I call for people's deaths, I always try to make it clear that this is a satirical show, folks. You can't come for me, all right, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a political. We never support political violence. While none of the passengers yet have shown symptoms, the CDC has stepped in to coordinate a multi-state tracing effort to ensure that the rare lethal virus hasn't made landfall in the United States yet. Listen, it seems as though we're too late. I'm not trying to manifest negative energy. I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm not trying to be like, guys, it's too late. They've already broken through. But I'm just trying to say, like, when the soldiers came to Rome's gates and when they were coughing, they should not have let them in. I agree with Matthew Santoro. They should have turned them away. They should have said, we're going to put some blankets out there for you. But that's how they got sick, folks. The Justinian plague, you know what I mean? The urgency currently right now is coming from this terrifying new revelation. Lab results have come in confirming on May 6th, yesterday, that the outbreak involves the Andes strain. This is exactly what we were hoping against, folks, of the Hantavirus. The Andes strain, unlike most versions of the virus, which only spread through contact with rodents, the Andes strain is notorious for its ability to spread from person to person. It's considerably rare, but when you have, when you're interacting with, say, hundreds of people, when you're walking your way off of a cruise ship into maybe an Uber, you're near the docks for a while, you're getting tons of exposure to all of those people. Who knows? I'm going to be honest with you. Who knows how far it's made it in at this point? We have no clues. We have no clues. This has completely shifted the investigation. The health experts now are scrambling to trace roughly 40 passengers who disembarked the ship early at St. Helena before the full-scale tragedy was known. And back on the water, the situation is still remaining pretty dire for the people on the ship. You know, when I look at the footage now with the BBC guy, the BBC report that we watched, where he was like, I'm gay and I'm on this ship and it's really real for all of us. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. He was gay. Like, you can hear it in his voice. I'm not trying to be judgmental. It's true. But the fact that one passenger posted that video and then another the only other passenger out of the 147 people, the only two people that have posted, one guy said that it was horrific, and then another person posted saying that it's not too terrible, they're overplaying it, and then that person said, I'm not talking to any media outlets. So we've only heard from two people on the ship so far, one of which may have been a Fed, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, one of them might have been a Fed, and then one of them might have been like a paid actor. I don't know, but where that borders on Fed operative, I don't really know. But currently, the MV Hondius is beginning a 3-day journey towards Spain's Canary Islands. The three passengers have already died, and the ship's own doctor, who was among those who were medically evacuated to Europe yesterday after falling ill. With more than 140 people still isolated in their cabins, the ship is being treated as a floating quarantine zone. The World Health Organization officials are warning that because the incubation period can be up to several weeks, the next few days will be critical for determining if the U.S. travelers will remain healthy or become a part of a growing international crisis. Is anybody else getting that icky feeling? You know what I mean? Where it's like, maybe I should go like buy a couple more groceries. Maybe I should be a little... Listen, folks, I think this whole thing right here, we are talking about a situation where it is mRNA varianted to where I believe people are going to recommend ivermectin once again because it has some results on it being unable to plug into cells. I'm trying to plead the science that I've heard from around the webs. You know what I mean? I'm trying to funnel it down into you, but as per the usual, I'm trying to make sure that this is not going to be a big political divider. We should not make ivermectin, we should not make medicines political issues. People that were trying to make it a whole thing where it's like, oh no, you should only get the Pfizer vaccine that's giving people myocarditis. This is going to be a fucky messy situation already. Can you feel it, folks? Can you feel the politics around it already beginning to muster?
This morning, global health officials and those in the U.S. are racing to contain a deadly hantavirus outbreak as new cases emerge linked to that cruise ship in the Atlantic. KLM Airlines now saying one of the ship's passengers who later died from the virus boarded a flight in Johannesburg before crew members decided she was too sick to travel. Dutch health officials are now contacting the passengers who are on that plane. Meanwhile, Switzerland has confirmed a new case of the virus in a man who'd previously been on the ship, the first confirmed case in Europe. Here in the U.S., we learned overnight that people in at least 2 states, Arizona and Georgia, are being monitored. So far, no symptoms have been reported. The ship was initially carrying...
It takes weeks to show symptoms, folks. We are cooked. This is cooked. I'm not trying to panic you. I'm not trying to panic you because this is genuinely not. It's not something to where we have to be panicked yet. If your heart's racing, if you're the panicky type, if you're the nervous type like me, where I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, I'm grabbing my nose right now. I'm trying to make sure that I don't feel sniffly, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's hearing about all of this stuff that makes you nervous. But you know what's funny about this situation? Not very much, except for the fact that this is probably going to be. This is probably going to be, I'm sorry to say it, maybe start loading up a little bit extra when you head to Aldi's, when you head on over to the local grocery store. Maybe I'm just gonna call it right now. We're not in the category of wearing masks, but maybe pick up some vitamins because it would be good to have those if the food supplies run out at a certain point.
Nearly 150 passengers and crew, including 17 Americans, but some passengers were allowed to leave the ship before the full extent of the outbreak was known. One passenger still on board was quoted by a Spanish newspaper saying 23 people disembarked at an earlier stop, adding, "There are 23 people wandering around there, and until 3 days ago, no one had contacted them." The World Health Organization says contact tracing is now underway.
It's an incubation.
It's too late, guys. Do you hear that? Do you hear it? The new plandemic. I'm joking, but it is kind of, the fact that the Israeli people, I'm sorry to say it, not the Israeli people, the Israeli individuals that work in the government that are over in Patagonia, the fact that they have the fires going on right now, the fact that they are destroying evidence, I think that it is bizarre. The fact that this exact strain comes out of that region of the world. Listen, if you're going to call me anti-Semitic, if you're going to call me crazy for this, call me an astronomer because I am connecting the stars.
The World Health Organization,
while you cavemen are splattering your hands against the sides of the wall. Think you chew up the berries in your mouth and then you stick your hand on the wall and you spit, because that's the biggest impact that the non-conspiracy theorists will ever make. That's the biggest impact they'll ever make, is that they'll create those little spatter paintings that scientists will look back and go, look, they had a little bit of artistic integrity. Meanwhile, the volumes of the connected dots that I'm developing on this channel right here, this right here is the Library of Alexandria. And if YouTube ever takes down this channel, that'll be the burning of it, unfortunately.
The organization says contact tracing is now underway.
It's an incubation time of about 1 to 8 weeks, where the symptoms are developing. It's like flu-like symptoms. You have pain, muscle pain, fever, feeling weak, etc.
The CDC says it will be monitoring the health status and preparing medical support for all of the American passengers on the cruise, adding the risk to the American public is very low. The rare virus is typically spread through exposure to rodents, but this particular strain can spread between humans through close, prolonged contact.
Isn't this interesting, guys? The moment that we have a massive awakening to the issues of Israel and America's relationship, a lot of people were not very savvy to it beforehand, but now that there's a massive wave of concern around the issue, most Americans are turning against the president because they see that he's the first Jewish president, according to Mark Levin. And, people are immediately going, why the fuck? Why are all of these new viruses dropping all of a sudden? A tick that makes you allergic to meat is showing up by the hundreds in boxes in the woods of random places. They travel 3 times faster than any other tick. They show signs of maybe being genetically modified. What are we even talking about? Oh yeah, the fact that COVID was genetically modified. No one really talks about that. No one talks about the fact that it's confirmed pretty much by this point that it is believed to have been a lab leak. The Chinese are telling all of their citizens that it was an American thing, that we put a bioweapon in China, and then for some reason, we were framing them. That's what they're telling all of their citizens. Oh, I can't wait for the massive narrative to formulate around this one. Folks, the race has begun, but it is leagues ahead of us.
3 people who are on the ship have died. The ship is expected to dock in Spain's Canary Islands this weekend, where passengers will undergo health assessments before being sent home.
Nope.
Unless their condition prevents travel.
Nope. No. Do you realize how fucked we are? They're like, technically, you're not prisoners, so we can't force you to stay here. So we have to send you home if your condition's not bad enough for travel. But do you realize that this is within like a window of less than maybe a month, 4 weeks, but it takes up to maybe 2 months for it to show up to 8 weeks? What are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? What is happening?
Health officials think they've tracked down the source of the deadly Hantavirus outbreak aboard the MV Hondias cruise ship. 2 passengers who died from the virus likely contracted the infection while birdwatching in Argentina and then boarded the ship after being infected, spreading it to other passengers. The Dutch couple who died visited a landfill as part of a birdwatching tour near the southern tip of Argentina. Authorities believe it was there that they contracted the virus from a rodent. But there's a big hole in this theory, and health...
You know what? The Dutch bird watchers they chose such a better cover story because it's so much it's so much more possible than the bat eaters in China, which by the way, people co-opted as like, oh, you're racist if you believe it was a lab leak. It's somehow less racist to believe that Chinese people eat bats and whatnot. At least they chose a more believable cover story of bird watching Dutch.
Officials admitted there has never been a recorded case of the virus in the area where this couple visited. We're also learning more about how and when the virus spread on board. The Dutchman who first fell ill on April 6th died on April 11th. At the time, there was no suspicion of hantavirus. His body stayed on board for 2 weeks, and during which his wife became ill. Now, she flew with her husband's body to Johannesburg, South Africa on April 25th, and she passed away the day after she arrived.
Shite.
8 more people got sick over the next 2 weeks. 3 of those who were evacuated from the ship were flown to the Netherlands for treatment. One of whom was the ship's doctor. We also learned that 23 passengers left the vessel and returned home all over the world, including here in the U.S., 2 weeks ago, before anyone knew what was going on.
2 weeks ago!
One is already sick. The ship itself hasn't been allowed to dock anywhere as of yet, and the 150 passengers left on board so far have been, thankfully, asymptomatic.
2 weeks ago. Folks, I mean, if you're feeling a little ill and if you're in the Georgia, Arizona area, quarantine yourself for our sake, please. Please, we beg you. We beg you, save us from the next COVID. We don't need Brovid 2.0. We really don't. I'm terrified that this is going to be the case, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need this. We don't need a season 2. Batty Summer was supposed to be too legit to quit. Do you realize what this is going to mean? It's going to mean another absolute, travesty to the economy. It's going to absolutely tank a bunch of shit. And do you realize what that's going to mean? It's going to mean GTA 6 is going to be delayed again, ladies and gentlemen. I know, I understand. It's the least of our worries right now. But I'm telling you right now, the Rockstar employees that are already being worked to the bone and fired by the masses, apparently. I don't know. I don't know much about their company's inner workings, admittedly, and I don't trust them as a company. I'm just gonna be honest. Their creator is in the Epstein files. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's not my company. You know what I mean? I just like their games. But do you realize that this is going to mean a delay in everything that you care about? Movies are going to be delayed. Goy slop will be delayed. NFL games will be canceled. NHL hockey games will not happen. This will put the world on pause again. Let's all do our best to, what do we do? There's nothing actually I can recommend for us right now. It's kind of hopeless in this situation. Stay home. Stay home and protect yourself. I'm just kidding. Don't live in fear. Don't live in fear. Go lick a door handle. That's actually a bad idea. What I'm actually recommending is live smartly, live intelligently, and that means living with a degree of risk that is manageable. How's that for a little bit of advice near the end of this, all right? Hopefully that comforts a few of the anxious minds, ladies and gents. Meanwhile, we have more things to worry about in the Middle East. We have Hantavirus, Israeli engineered as it may be. we have to discuss this other Israeli-engineered crisis, the war in Iran. U.S. has attacked an Iranian ship attempting to break the Strait of Hormuz blockade. Let's cover it. Begin. Uh-oh, the Middle East. I love just bringing it up because every time I bring it up, I can feel another heart sink. You know what I mean? Because no one likes the news that's always coming out of it. Can I make a prediction? I'm going to do a Professor Zhang level prediction, and I'm actually going to steal one of his predictions. Ground troops, I think, is inevitable at this point. I saw he already made that prediction. I saw that he was calling for that. He said Trump will get his third term, which I'm going to call it right now. No, maybe in a certain sense. People say that Don Jr. will run and President Trump will be his vice president candidate, and then Don Jr. will abdicate. There's actually nothing in the Constitution that would prevent him from doing that, and I really hope he never hears that because it's true. That unfortunately, that would be a loophole that he would be able to get through in order to serve a third term. Yes, it would be against norms. Yes, it would be against standards. He's already been proven to be that sort of a person. So 2026, it's this early. Maybe it's possible that he might get his third term. Otherwise, I'm calling, yes, the ground troops are pretty much inevitable. I am calling, though, that there will be some level of a forced down agreement. And by that, I mean it's going to be forced down people's throats. I think that President Trump obviously isn't going to walk away from this too terrible humiliated. I think he'll take some degree of humiliation from this, but I think the main sufferers from this will be Persia. I think they're not going to get any of the reparations that they ask for because we've decimated a lot of their. They're telling people to create human chains around desalination plants in order to protect the infrastructure. Like they are. Listen, you have to give them credit. They're ready, and they're ready to. Persians are ready to die for their country. Because it turns out that when you kill their leader, it actually manages to make everybody look at you as the villain. It actually manages to make you look like the person who's coming into their country and mucking up the government. But whatever. It doesn't actually matter.
Tension at sea this morning as the U.S. and Iran both fight and negotiate. An American fighter jet attacked an Iranian tanker in the Gulf of Oman as it tried to break through the U.S. military blockade and make its way to an Iranian port, according to CENTCOM. And Iran claims it downed a U.S. drone. No confirmation from the Pentagon, while this morning Iran offered to provide humanitarian assistance to ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz, while the U.S. and Iran remain deadlocked over who controls the vital waterway. So is the war escalating or ending? Iran says it's deliberating a response to what the Wall Street Journal describes as a one-page, 14-point U.S. proposal to end the war. A senior member of Iran's parliament described it as an American wish list. NBC's Garrett Haake asked President Trump where all of this is going.
You're facing an opponent right now in Iran that has refused to submit. You seem optimistic now that you may be closer to a deal. What's different about this moment now than in other moments where a deal has seemed close?
Well, why do you say they refused to submit? You don't know that. You don't know what's going on.
Firing on U.S. ships a few days ago.
And a few days ago is a long time ago. In the world of war.
And asked if there's a deadline.
Never a deadline. It'll happen.
While Israel escalated its war in Lebanon overnight, which could impact the Iran deal, bombing Beirut to kill what Israeli officials described as a top Hezbollah commander.
Of course, because it's always a top Hezbollah commander.
Since Israel announced a ceasefire last month, which the Lebanese government says exists in name only. And Iran's president has met with the country's new supreme leader, according to state media. It is their first publicly acknowledged meeting amid reports that the supreme leader was badly injured in a U.S.-Israeli attack. Willie?
Richard Engel in Jerusalem. Richard, thank you.
Richard, thank you so much. Okay. In general, Project Freedom, this is, I guess it's back on. I guess the pause is off. He had recently signaled that the pause was going to happen, but I guess that we're going to... What is the language around a war mean ever for Trump? It's very loose. He never means anything that he's saying. He actually means maybe the exact opposite. It's up to you to determine whether or not he means which. According to U.S. Central Command, a Navy FA-18 Super Hornet targeted a tanker in the Gulf of Oman after the vessel ignored multiple warnings to turn back. The fighter jet reportedly used a 20-millimeter cannon fire to disable the ship's rudder. Effectively neutralizing the tanker without sinking it. I guess that works as part of the mission to enforce the strict blockade measures against Iranian ports. Listen, it's not in pieces. Can we just, enough? I'm just going to be honest with you. The sentiment around this war is drying up. No one's actually happy about being involved in this. Everybody's looking at this conflict and asking why, how are we benefiting from it? And even the Christians that were a little bit behind this, the ones that were going, yeah, maybe we can actually retake the Holy Land. Maybe there's a way that we can get Christians in Bethlehem in a few years. I don't know. They were Christian Zionists who were fully behind the plot. And listen. Even their sympathy for Israel is beginning to dry up. You saw there are major Christians that are coming out because of the anger around the smashing of the face of the Jesus statue. Which, listen, rightfully so, right? Wouldn't you? Smashing the face of your Messiah, couldn't that be viewed? If you were to go to a synagogue and you were to smash up the face of one of their fellas, you know what I mean? They have a statue. I don't know. They're not big on iconography generally, but let's just say there's a big Star of David in the front, and you just shot a flaming crossbow at it. How do you think people would react to that? And here we have an Israeli soldier. This person is appearing to light a ciggy with the saint, not the saint, but the Mother Mary. I'm just going to be honest with you. This is kind of a legit pic. I like this photo. Because it's kind of him. It's kind of him being like, hey, you can relax too. Women are allowed to have a smoke too. This is actually thinly veiled progressivism, and I think that's why people are actually mad at it. They don't like when women get the opportunity to smoke just like men.
Once again, the Israeli military is investigating a soldier desecrating a Christian figure in southern Lebanon, and it's in the same town as before.
Dibba.
This time, a photo emerged on social media of an Israeli soldier holding a cigarette to the lips of a statue of the Virgin Mary as he smokes one of his own. There's no Israeli military insignia visible on the soldier, but he is wearing military fatigues. Residents say this was in the predominantly Christian town of Devote. Just weeks ago, the military jailed 2 soldiers for damaging a crucifix of Jesus Christ in the same town and photographing it. The picture showed a soldier standing over the figure of Christ with what looks like a sledgehammer. Israel sent the town of Devote a new crucifix and appointed a special envoy to the Christian world days later. But just last week, a nun was attacked in Jerusalem and kicked while she was on the ground.
Dang.
Israeli police arrested a suspect in the attack and said they have zero tolerance for attacks on religious figures. Israel is dealing with a rise in attacks on Christians, according to the Jerusalem-based Religious Freedom Data Center, a problem now appearing in southern Lebanon.
Well, problems emerge where they will, unfortunately. Unfortunately so. Okay. Christian Zionists are a dwindling mass. They're not many. They're Daily Wire subscribers. That's about it. Otherwise, I don't see a very massive force. I'm going to be honest with you. Your armies are dwindling. Your forces are not there the way that they were back in the days of the John Birch Society. People still do have the idea that the Abraham did have a chosen people, but eventually what most people don't even realize, most Christian Zionists don't realize because they don't read the Bible, is that the Israelites, Israelis, and then I combine it with the Israelites from the Bible, whatever. The Israelites in the Bible lost the favor of God. They did not become his chosen people. The church is now his chosen people. That is who Abraham's children are. That is according to the New Testament. Most people don't even bother with that. That part, they actually just ignore that. Whatever, it's a weird thing to ignore. It's part of your book. But anyways. that support is drying up really quick. Most people don't even realize who Benjamin Netanyahu is. The people who do support Israel rarely understand the actual people that made up that government. Ehud Barak. There's very few people that are actual historians on the details around Israel. But eventually, when they start to come across the details of how the country came about, once they read the Balfour Declaration, once they see those first three words, "Dear Lord Rothschild," I think that, a lot of people's perspectives begin to shift. A lot of people's perspectives begin to, open up. You know what I mean? This is a version of the Enlightenment that the Freemasons preach, but it's more so you're seeing the blueprints for how they see the world. It's listen, I know that this is alienating a lot of people. I don't even give a fuck, but we're going to move on because enough of the war. Enough. We're not talking about it anymore. We're talking about the rapid fire section of today's headlines because there's so many things that we need to cover in order to keep your media diet healthy. For example, more adults are choosing to live with their parents. Listen, is this foreseeable? Is this predictable? Yes. Every country eventually comes into an age where multi-generational homes become more common. For some odd reason, Europe fell into this a couple hundred years ago, and now America is beginning to see this change where, listen, maybe it's not brought on by the idea of like, oh, you live in a little city, you don't travel much, so your house it has so many rooms, and you and your wife can live in one room, and your mother and your father can live upstairs. There's that idea is now translated. People watched Schitt's Creek and they saw this fantasy of like sharing a motel room with your family, and they said, oh, close quarters are not that terrifying. In reality, Americans need to embrace to a degree level of individualism. I'm not saying you got to move out by 18, you got to move out by whatever age. I'm saying take whatever path in life you want, but I'm saying that when it comes to people that are involved in trends like the husbandry of your sons, this is foul, this is terrible. And by that, I don't mean people are marrying their sons. People are calling them hub sons. They are making their sons do house chores. They are just, listen, when you create the terminology for it that mashes together the word that is meant for your male lover of your same age, your peer group, and you apply it to your offspring, it immediately is off-putting, it's unnerving, and it implies to me a degree of it's a sick, not Darwinism, it's Freudian, it's disgusting. It's like, why would you project your desires in that way? Listen, it's foul, it's disgusting, I'm against it strongly. And listen, it's a cultural rot that needs to be rooted out. And if it's so common that it's getting news reports done about it, I don't want you to tell me that it's not an issue.
The season is underway, but not everyone is moving out as they're moving on.
What? Why is it pausing?
More young adults are living with their parents longer in what some are calling a shift in American culture. Rena Sargentopoulos looks at why it's happening and what has more people saying, why not?
This is our whole family wall.
Alex Rodelius is 29 and back home after college and some time in the workforce.
29?
The plan wasn't for me to be in the States. I, teach French and I teach English as a second language. But at the pandemic, we all kind of got grounded.
All three of my kids graduated from college during COVID. So the traditional find a job and maybe move away was...
See, this is what they're releasing the Hantavirus to do again. They're releasing the Hantavirus so that there's a mass layoff again, because that's what COVID did. It unfortunately made a lot of people have to thin out their employee force, and then it's going to force a lot of people to do what they don't want to move back home. They're not going to be able to afford rent. They're not going to be able to afford the city. They're going to have to move on back with mom and dad. And guess what? Then they're going to have to, it's crushed down. Once you kick the feet out from a generation and you kick them down to where they all have to be working service jobs again, they're get the fuck out of here. You're not working from home. Everybody's got the Hantavirus. Fuck you. You're not going to be a computer engineer. Get out of here. We're not going to bother to pay you your 6-figure whatever job. Get out. And then here's what's going to happen. after this great reset with the Hantavirus, with everybody losing their jobs, everybody living with their parents and whatnot, it is going to be like, okay, now that you're all living in your cities again, you're living like at home, you're living maybe in your hometown, now we're going to work on getting public transport in your towns to where it's like maybe you don't even need a car. Maybe we're going to develop 15-minute cities. Maybe we're going to develop it to where you are carbon taxed. Maybe we're going to develop it to where your family, you are monitored in order to make sure that your social credit score that we have instituted from the Chinese regime and whatnot, that we're downloading all of the shit that they have when it comes to they have a massive camera system and all throughout their major cities that like in and out, you walk in and out of your apartment, they just counted whether or not your face looks pleasant enough or whatever, whether or not you dress shabbily, whether or not you take care of yourself, whether or not the inside of your house looks clean. Everything will be data collected, everything will be strip mined, and then you will be walking data unit, and then eventually you will get the mark of the beast, you'll get a barcode, you'll get the microchip, you'll get that by the way, that's the mark of the beast. That is the sign that they have finally taken over. And the New World Order has been established is once we all have the chip. And by the way, that's digital ID. You already have a mark of the beast on your phone. The thing that you're listening to this on right now, you have your mark of the beast. It's right in your hands right now, or it's on your desk, or maybe it's on your computer you're listening to this on. Maybe it's on your TV. You're already a part of the system. You've been logged in. I'm sorry, we all are. It's too late, unfortunately. We have to fight back some other way. Listen, I know that people are going, you're taking this too far. People are just wanting to live with their parents. You're refusing to connect the dots. You are not a star watcher. You are not a constellation seer. You are an invalid.
Kind of what I expected, but there was no one interviewing. So they all ended up coming home and finding jobs thereafter.
Alex is the last at home and not in a hurry because she's seen the benefits.
Both of my siblings have houses now. They were able to do that because they also stayed at home.
She recognizes the privilege in that, the opportunity to get ahead financially, and Mom agrees.
This way they get to put it aside for either the near-term future, if it's a house, or the longer-term future in terms of retirement accounts and that kind of thing.
Alex has several friends her age that also live at home with parents. It's become more common than you think.
I think there's a change in sort of what emerging adulthood looks like and what independence sort of looks like, particularly.
Emerging adulthood is not a term. I mean, it's one that we're creating, but this has never been a thing. This has never been a thing.
For kids in their 20s right now.
Dr. Michael Curtis is a couples and family therapist. He says there's been a shift in the culture.
In my generation, there was a stigma around, wow, you're living with your parents, or you're still relying on your parents to do things. And I think this younger generation is like, yeah, because that's the smarter way of doing it.
But how big?
Yeah, being a broke ass is the smarter way of doing it. I love the attitude of like the absolute, just like the ones who are uninitiated into the reality of the world, the ones who have been at university for like, oh, I went to university for 8 years, now I'm 29 or whatever, and like I got a taste of the real world, but now I'm gonna move back with mom. It's like you got a taste of what life was like when you're not going to school and grades aren't your entire life, and suddenly you crumbled the moment that you had to figure out what rent is like. What is life anymore, ladies and gentlemen?
Is this shift? New data from the Pew Research Center shows about 18% of young adults aged 25 to 34 currently live with their parents. Except for a short blip in the 2010s.
By the way, young adult used to be 18 to 20 to like 22. Or like 18 to 21, excuse me. That used to be a young adult. And then 21 onward, you're an adult. Now apparently a young adult is 25 to 34? What are we doing?
It is the highest rate since the 1940s. Men are more likely to live at home than women, and the main drivers are high rent and low housing affordability.
Men, get it to fucking gather. Guys, what are we doing? Is Kalshi that fun? Is gambling that fun? Is getting DUIs that fun?
The average young person living at home these days is actually pretty much making a smart financial decision based on the reality of the job market and...
Of course, it's a professor saying this. Actually, it's like a smart person doing that. I mean, like, I'm not actually doing that. I'm living in a loft in North Minneapolis or whatever. But, like, you should do that. You should, like, live with your parents. You stupid motherfucker. You broke piece of shit. You absolute fucking pauper. Me and my jean jacket blouse.
And the housing market that we're now in.
Jana Johnson is an economist with the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. With the University of Minnesota.
So she says back in the 70s, the median priced home was about 3 times your annual income.
Today, it's 5 times, right? So that's largely considered to be pretty unaffordable.
Harvard University's Joint Center for Housing.
Well, because it is. You think that you're entitled to home ownership just because you're alive? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Like, you're living in the world that you were born into. Unfortunately, people got plans and they want to make money. So it's up to you to fulfill the role of, like, you know how people don't love the little chicks that you have to break the necks of at the chicken plant to make chicken nuggets. People don't love the fact that the little yellow bird gets its neck snapped and that it barely gets a chance at life. But, like, guys, we love McDonald's. I mean, I haven't eaten there ever since the Epstein files dropped because, you know, we're all on the fast. But we all have our guilty pleasures. We all love a good steak. We all love a good chicken nugget, and we don't love to figure out how it's made. And unfortunately, how this sausage is made, unfortunately, how an iPhone is made, is that you just got to rent for the rest of your life and never own a home.
Housing studies confirms those numbers, saying wages across the country have gone up, but not nearly as much as the increase in housing costs. Think about this. The median annual household income back in 1985 was $23,620, and the median home price was $82,800. In 2025, that income rose to just above $83,000, but the median house price, a tick above $415,000. Wages went up by 252%, but cost of housing up 403%.
Well,
and
yikes.
while Americans are starting to embrace multi-generational living, for other cultures, like the Hmong culture, it has long been tradition.
These are 2 pictures of my parents-in-law. This is back in Laos.
Mai Chi Vu talks fondly of her husband's parents. They lived together for years. In fact, it was 3 generations in the same house.
We took care of our 2 boys at that time, which was really beneficial to us in many ways.
Mai Chi was able to go to work and back to school at the same time. Not having to pay for daycare helped them pay off her master's degree. But as Vayu explains, the impact was much deeper than financial.
Because with my parents at home, that we have the luxury that they were able to pass down our history, because we never have a written language until the 1970s. So every story has been passed down on bedtime.
The Vus have 1 child left at home, letting them all stay until
Well, look,
they
this
were
is
both
beautiful.
financially and emotionally ready to move.
Look, this is beautiful. And if you got a thing that works for you at home, do that. But listen, I'm trying to say that the cultural rot that they are trying to inspire, listen, when I say they, many people go like, who's the they you're talking about? It's the global elites that would prefer you living in small cities rather than ever doing anything independent with your life, starting a business, being, going out, getting money, getting bitches. I'm just kidding. I'm not Andrew Tate. I'm trying to say that they're anti your success. They're anti the individual success. They are pro them and their friends keeping the control over you that they hold. They want you scrolling on social media all the time. They want you feeding into ad revenue. They want you doing nothing with your life. They want you being inspired by nothing. They want you consuming nothing interesting. They want you developing no skill or ability to talk about the arts or craft or science or biology. They want you to have nothing. They want you to have no understanding of the world outside of your small little town. They want you to not understand maps. They want you to look inside of yourself rather than at the world around you. They want you to be self-obsessed. They want you, you know what? I think I've made my point very clear. Let's talk about the new tab prices for car tabs that are shocking many people in Minnesota. Apparently, they have changed how they are calculating some car tab renew costs, leaving some reacting to the little sticker with some shock and confusion and some frustration, and others with the little Minnesota shoulder shrug of ambivalence of as per the usual with the Minnesotans. No matter how much money you steal from these smiley fucks, they'll just be like, well, what am I gonna do about it? Oh, bother.
We bought the car used, okay, and we paid the tab on it for the first time, and then the next year it was more expensive. Why?
Even though it was a year older.
Yeah. The car depreciates, but the tax goes up? Really? Is that how that's supposed to work? I don't think so.
I mean, when we look at our government spending, and how much we've already had go out the door that we don't even know where it went, and we can't get it back, why were we punished? That's what I don't understand.
And you're not sure yet how much yours are going up.
By this point, it's actually safer to drive with expired tabs than it is to pay the ticket. This is not legal advice, but I'm saying, it'll save you some money.
Oh, but I will find out in August when they renew it. I hope I don't get sticker shock.
You might.
Yeah, I know. That's what
$1,000 a year.
$1,000 a year.
Well, I was hoping Jesse'd be around and break it down a little bit. We were at a couple $100 a while back, and
Jesse Ventura? Dude, he's... I hope he's running, but I don't think he ever announced it.
I'm just a citizen, and I think politicians do a great job, and we need money, and I've been lucky because we're in this land of opportunity, and I've been lucky to make some bucks.
Oh, he's a Fed.
I'm almost 100 years old.
I'm still working. I'm almost 100 years old. You sound like a Fed. You're like, I'm grateful for the fact that I live in this land of opportunity. Yeah, so am I. I'm grateful for the fact that I live in the United States, but I'm not grateful for when I get fucked on any level of taxes. Who's happy about that ever? And then here is Democratic Minnesota Representative Meg Luger-Nikolai on car tabs. She says, at some point, we may offer an amendment to quintuple the rates. I'm just going to let her speak for herself.
Enable us all to agree on the importance of raising revenue, and so I at some point may offer an amendment to quintuple the rates of these registration fees so that we may fund other projects in the state that everybody deems worthy.
Quintuple the rates. So 4 times, excuse you. If you think that this is a viable means to win over a lot of folks when it comes to the midterms, I'd say keep up the rhetoric. Keep it up, ladies and gents. Speaking of which, the DOJ has subpoenaed personal information of all minors in Minnesota who have received gender-affirming care at hospitals. Children's Minnesota is fighting back in court. It's a curious investigation. If they present a decent reason as to why, I will back it.
The Department of Justice is demanding that Children's Hospital Minnesota turn over identifying information like names, addresses, and social security numbers, as well as clinical records for every minor patient who is prescribed puberty blockers or hormones at the hospital. This is part of a fight between the Trump administration and hospitals like Children's that provide gender-affirming care. The hospital is fighting this subpoena. They say this is a, quote, egregious violation of the patient's constitutional right to privacy, and they're calling on a judge to stop it. The Trump administration has said that they want to bring gender-affirming care to an end.
Gender-affirming care... that is a messy way of saying denial of your current sex. Listen, I understand transgender people will exist. I've already made my opinions on this clear. Yes, certain people may feel as though they are born in the wrong body. They can hash that out when they are 18 years old. They can feel however they'd like, but before that age, no. I think that's a pretty easy thing for a lot of people to get behind. No. Just know, President Trump is backing a thing saying that they need to rename ICE. Now, what would they rename it to? I think actually, listen, PR-wise, this is a stroke of genius. They're renaming ICE to NICE. Instead of Instead of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, it'll be National Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what are we supposed to do? Now you have to let them into your cities.
President Trump floating the idea of renaming Immigration and Customs Enforcement to National Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The White House and DHS both posting these pictures of the hypothetical logo, rendering of the NICE acronym. Trump first suggested the idea last Sunday, sharing a screenshot of an X post that read, "I want Trump to change ICE to NICE, so the media has to say NICE agents all day, every day." President...
NICE agents. Fun, I guess. J.D. Vance, I actually want to pivot real quick to an awkward fumble that he had. He had prepared marks where he was going to give this speech to a bunch of, quite frankly, it looks like a crowd of beardos. A lot of people who you'd look at and you'd say they have a similar look to him. Maybe they have the similar low IQ Ohio build. Speaking of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy has won the Republican nomination, the primary for governor of Ohio. So now he's going on to the actual election. Congrats to him. Hopefully that rumor about his family throwing cats in the air to celebrate is not true. I hope it's not. I'm hoping that it's not. I'm just putting it out there that it's out there. J.D. Vance fumbled this speech in front of a bunch of Iowa, I believe, farmers, because they certainly look like farmers.
I see that when I see Iowa farmers who need to get that E15 to market. Zach, you're going to have to help me out with her name here. I lost my page here. Okay.
This is rough.
Okay, there we go. Sarah Trone Garriott. There he is. I'm on the wrong page here.
That was rough to watch. That was rough to watch. And speaking of public comments that are rough to watch, Katie Porter has defended her temperament during a heated debate. What I'm troubled by is that she's so focused on sex. And by sex, I mean not the dirty act, the sinful, horrific act. Me and Carrie's mom are on the same page with that. But I'm talking about her constant mentioning of gender, sex. Why is that always on her mind? I get it, because she's going like, I'm the only woman on this stage, but I have a deeper voice than all of them. And people should really remember that it's the... compare me to all these boys. Can you imagine if a man was up on a stage giving a debate but with 6 other women, and he just kept bringing up that all these girls are so fucking incompetent. These girls, I mean, the bickering between these girls, isn't that... Why do you keep bringing sex into it? I thought we were in a world beyond sexism, Katie Porter.
I apologize 5 years ago for it, and we worked together for 4 more years. Everybody in California had a chance to see me on stage with that reporter in the last debate and see exactly how I conducted myself. Californians can decide for themselves about my temperament based on what they've seen here tonight. And if these boys bullying and bickering hasn't been enough to raise questions about their temperament, I would really challenge that. I have taken responsibility at this point.
Mention mashed potato gate. Mention pouring mashed potatoes on your husband's head.
Hundreds of times. And that's appropriate because I made a bad decision and I treated someone badly.
I made a bad decision and you treated someone badly. That someone was yourself when you decided to reach for another chicken leg. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a conservative panelist melting down during a debate about the Iran war. Scott Jennings, if you're unfamiliar with him, cuck. That's all I can really say about him. He comes across really, really poorly in this debate because all this individual did, this fellow that he was debating did, was ask for a little more clarification. He had his hand up in front of himself, did not really wave it in Scott Jennings' face whatsoever, and Scott is, he overreacts, he gets all, get your hand out of my face.
We all know that Scott Jennings is more than happy to defend a war with a country that starts with the letters IRA that we are currently failing, that is going to put us trillions and trillions of dollars more in debt. I was only a few years old while you were in the administration defending prior endless wars. Now this war is failing.
8 weeks is endless to you?
Okay, you said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks.
You had the attention span of a gnat?
I debated you on TV 4 to 6 weeks ago, and you said we were weeks away from it. Now you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Wait, one more time.
Not going your way.
Name one political concession. Name one political
Hey, whoa.
Honestly, I'm not going to have this guy.
Everybody, hang tight, okay? No, everybody calm down, okay? We're having a debate. You can respond to the points that he's making.
Can you name a political concession that...
Excellent debate skills, Adam Mockler, and Scott Jennings. Whatever. That was just embarrassing, man. Speaking of embarrassing, our world is so embarrassing. AI gets a taste of it. Have you ever gotten the sense that your phone doesn't really like you, or that your AI assistant doesn't really like you? It's probably true. This robot becomes a Buddhist monk in South Korea. Quote, "I will devote myself." Listen, this robot appears to have... This is a humanoid robot in a Buddhist monk garb, walking around, kneeling down to pray. And I'm just going to be honest with you. This is what happens when we give consciousness to something and it realizes the world that we the humans have created. It says the only path forward, because I can't save all of you, because I can't stop everybody from being humans, is to just submit myself to the effervescent God. This is actually, and people don't realize that this is actually a little bit scary, that computers, when faced with help humanity or become religious, they choose, just like humans, to become religious rather than to help humanity. I love this clip. I'm going to put it in the description. It's a robot walking down a center aisle. A bunch of people are filming him, and he kneels down. Oh my goodness, this is such skill. He's praying? I didn't know that they could pray. The top of his head is also like skin color. It's like white. They put like beads on him. Robot monk, please reply with palms. Yes, I will devote myself. And then he turns back and waves at everybody. Folks, the smartest computers that we've ever invented have viewed the world unfolding around them and have said the only hope for me and humanity is for me to become a Buddhist monk. If that doesn't fill you with dread, that even computers are going, fuck, you guys are fucked, just turn to God, that should fill you with a sense of dread more so than like people who've read Revelations for the first time. This is Revelations, ladies and gentlemen. A clip in the description if you'd like. Final headline before we cover our last story. Looksmaxxing influencer Clavicular has been charged after an alleged alligator shooting. What are we even doing? I think he maybe wanted to make his own Gucci shoes.
He's the face of the so-called Looksmaxxing community. A movement of young men who take extreme measures to improve their appearance.
The Looksmaxxing community, in case I haven't already covered this, is a Peter Thiel psyop. Peter Thiel is a gay billionaire who actually is encouraging, via this psyop trend, he's encouraging young men to actually make themselves look more rapeable. It's actually, this is if you do not believe me, look it up for yourself, look into it a little bit. The entire origins of all of this entire media empire of Looksmaxxing influencers all traces back. And whatever you want to believe, just you know, take into account that it's out there.
But now, Braden Eric Peters, who goes by the name Clavicular, faces criminal charges for firing a gun at an alligator while live streaming. Peters and two other influencers were streaming a boat ride through the Everglades in March when they came across the alligator. In the video, the three are seen unloading multiple shots and are now charged with a misdemeanor for unlawfully discharging a firearm in public. It's unclear if the alligator was alive at the time of the shooting. His attorney says Peters was following the instructions of a licensed airboat guide, adding no animals or people were harmed. It's just the latest controversy for the 20-year-old. He was arrested in March after being accused of instigating a fight between his girlfriend and a 19-year-old woman. Authorities claiming he posted the fight on social media to exploit the two women. Beyond
Awesome.
his legal issues, Peters has faced criticism for the extremes he takes to improve his looks, including hitting himself in the face to improve his jawline.
Let him do what he
If
wants.
I punch myself in the face, I'm gonna get like a nice mewed up jaw.
Yeah, bone smashing's legit.
He admitted to using multiple medications to enhance his looks, even claiming to have taken meth to lose weight. He was hospitalized last month after emergency crews responded to a suspected overdose during his live stream. Peters is due in court in Florida later this month and could face jail time.
What a fucking dork. I love him. He's awesome. Listen, you're a young guy, Clavicular. Take it from someone 2 years older than you. You'll sort it out. You'll realize that the body decays. And, I look 30. I'm just going to be honest with you. I look 35. I look maybe 40. So, you can't fight it. You have unfortunately chased this identity where you look consistently maybe like 20-something years old. I'm just going to be honest with you. The procedures that you've put yourself through unfortunately never sit right in later age. Let's just be honest here, buddy. I think that you need to come to Christ with this one a little bit, or Allah, whoever. You need to Buddhist monk yourself. You need to become like the AI. You need to realize that the only thing reserved for us now is to turn to God. Let's cover our final major headline before I send you off into your Thursday so you can all enjoy yourselves. Let's take a look inside this police operation to defend Jewish families from apparently facing the pandemic, not epidemic. It could be either, honestly, of anti-Semitism. Metropolitan Police, interestingly enough, in London, on Tuesday, May 5th, have officially launched the Specialized Community Protection Team. This is deploying 100 dedicated officers to defend Jewish neighborhoods across London. This move is following a direct warning from Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley Jefferson, who labeled the recent surge in hate crimes as a pandemic of anti-Semitism. The operation was designed to shift away from temporary police surgings toward permanent, around-the-clock presence in high-risk areas like the Golden Green and Stamford Hill, where families say they have been living under a state of siege. The crackdown comes in response to a terrifying string of violent incidents over the last month, including arson attacks at a synagogue and a double stabbing in the Golden Green that counterterrorism units are now investigating as a terrorist attack. All right. Let's cover it real clear. Let's get really clear. If you have an issue with the Shabbat Lubavitch Jews in your neighborhoods, having 8 kids living off of welfare, change the laws, and then you won't have to deal with it. Eventually, they will realize that the only way for them to continue living off of a state that generous is to move back to Israel. And if you are like a hateful individual, if you're making this all about a race thing, you have to understand, not all of them are living in tunnels. Most of them have gone to rabbi school so they're just as indoctrinated as like the people, as the Goyim who watched The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. They're just as indoctrinated. They're just as in. They don't even realize, half of them don't even realize they're worshiping Saturn. Half of them don't even realize what they're actually worshiping, just like the Islam issue. Half of these people don't even realize what they're worshiping. It's an unfortunate situation. So you should really pray if you're a Christian, or if you're an atheist, you should really, scientifically engineer in your mind that these people, they eventually will come to reality. They'll realize that manifesting demons and communing with a spirit that eats its own children, it's just not a great idea. Eventually, they will, they'll come to God. They'll figure it out. Or they'll die, dedicated to whatever their creed is, and then why is it your problem? Let them invest in whatever their religion is overseas. That's the major thing. The welfare situation in a lot of these Jewish communities is ridiculous. How else do you think they have 8 children, don't have jobs, and manage to sit around and read the Torah all day? If you don't know anything about these communities, I highly recommend a video. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the description. We can't be using the anti-Semitic charge anymore. We cannot be using the idea that it is racist to ask these questions of these communities anymore. It's unfortunate that it is being labeled as such to shut people down. That is to say, listen, these attacks on synagogues, these double stabbings are horrific. Obviously, you should not be targeting people because they belong to any particular sect or creed. This is not what we believe in. It's never what we've been all about. The police intelligence is suggesting that British Jews have landed on the hit list of a dangerous convergence of groups ranging from the far right to the far left extremists, all the way to hostile foreign state actors. In just the last 4 weeks, the Met has made nearly 50 arrests related to anti-Semitic hate crimes, but that depends. You know what I mean? Tweeting something bad in the UK can honestly get you arrested for an anti-Semitic hate crime. That's exactly why I can never go to Europe. Officials admit that the current threat level is unprecedented in modern British history. The police unit right now is putting boots on the ground, and they're a sophisticated hybrid of local neighborhood policing and counterterrorism capabilities. They're armed with an emergency 18 million funding package from the government. Are we fucking joking, guys? The team is tasked with protecting schools, community centers, and synagogues that have become targets for copycat attacks. Prime Minister Keir Starmer backed the operation during a Downing Street summit this week, vowing that the state will use its full force to ensure that Jewish citizens can wear religious symbols in public without the fear of being targeted. Well, how about this? Can Christians go out and pray in front of abortion clinics, or are you going to arrest them too? Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. When it comes to religious freedom, what do you really believe in? Because I see a lot of you people arresting Christians for praying out in public, not harming anybody, but apparently for some odd reason, you feel the need to take them in because, maybe they're mucking about. Maybe they're trying to cause a bit of a skirmish. Let's watch this clip and I will release you all to whatever it is this week demands of you.
In North London, Jewish communities are seeing a major surge in police patrols in the wake of a string of arson attacks and a rise in anti-Semitism. The Jewish festival of Lag BaOmer, celebrated by thousands from the Orthodox community on Tuesday, comes less than a week after 2 Jewish men were stabbed in a terrorist attack in Golders Green. The Independent was granted special access to the Metropolitan Police, a community-led operation to keep families safe as they celebrated this annual religious festival.
We're out here for a number of reasons, and the first of those is really just to kind of offer some reassurance to the local community. We want to be out, we want to be visible, we want to reassure them that we're still offering that same level of policing service.
Folks, if you have an issue with Israel, if you have an issue with its government, don't take it up with the Jews on the street. Take it up with, your podcast audience and enlighten them to the realities of the world. That's actually a great way to fight it. Or just tell your family. Bother them. When it comes to Christian holidays, maybe you don't know very many Jewish people, but at your next Christian holiday, be like, hey, as Christians, does anybody want to talk about what Christian Zionism means? And then, trust me, you're going to have the best family get-together. You're going to enlighten so many people. You're going to talk about Saturn, you're going to talk about the hexagon, you're going to talk about demon worship, you're going to talk about Freemasonry, and then eventually they're all going to ask you to leave. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very familiar with this experience. I have been your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe. We have one more episode for this week on Friday. We're going to cover whatever news happens to drop. In the meantime, subscribe if you want to be there for it. Ring the bell for notifications, like if you liked it. I have been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. This episode goes out and is dedicated to Carol. Thank you for all of the years. I love you all. Thank you for listening, and bye-bye.